Yeah.
Well, not necessarily, because you still could be taught something that's a complete load of rubbish, and if they don't know
that's
that,
his justification.
No, it's
yeah,
not.
but that's his justification.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It is a justification.
That's his
But it's
justification.
a wrong
We're getting
justification.
caught in the semantics.
It's a shit one.
It's a shit justification.
Yeah, it's just about. I thought it's,
Welcome everybody to another Outside Crowd podcast, and delighted to be here again with Ryan
Yo!
and Billy.
Hello.
And also, before we start, thank you to everyone who's been listening in on the podcast. That's really is appreciated. The listener numbers are increasing. People from around the world are listening in, so that's really good. And if you have any comments, any ideas, any suggestions, or if you want to come on the podcast, then, just drop us a line. We're on Instagram, we're on, YouTube, Spotify, all the main platforms. So the podcast is going places, and be delighted to have you on the programme. But tonight we're going to have a little chat about human resources, how we think about resourcing jobs going forward, how we find people, how we select the right people, and then once we got them, how we train them, and what's the best approaches that we've come across, and the issues that we had when we're looking at that area. So I suppose the first thing is, how do you appraise your current staff situation in terms of workload going forward, Ryan? Do you look at where you are in terms of the jobs that you're getting and think, oh, I need a few more people here? How do you decide how many people you need in your company to do the jobs that you're working on?
Yeah, so we would have a look at the jobs that we have won, and look at the jobs we have won, and what tasks are on that on them projects.
Yeah.
Once we establish that, you can look forward and think, right, having another skilled team member come on board is going to be quite helpful right now, especially coming into the summer season, where everything is go. So yeah, we at the moment we have 2 positions available for 2 staff members to join, and we're looking for people can lay a bloody fucking patio, to be honest with you. To answer your question, we kind of look forward and
yeah.
And
so
see
it obviously depends on you. You look forward on your workflow and then trying to see how many.
Yeah.
Because I imagine if you're taking someone on, you're expecting that workload to continue at that increased volume going forward.
Yeah.
And so then that'll all tie in with your marketing and making sure you're getting more work to keep those people going. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it definitely frees up as the phone is ringing a lot more in these summer months. The being able to have the jobs continue on while myself is going out to look at projects and bring in more workload, and the labour force that we have, they're great bunch of guys. Really come along well, and I feel that we're at a stage where once that trade comes on board, they're going to be well fed, well looked after, and it's going to be a well-oiled machine.
Yeah. How about you, Bill? How do you look at your resource, your sort of workload and resources, and how do you decide how many people you need and how best to manage the number of people that you've got in your company?
Well, I think it's very similar to Ryan in terms of how many people you need on a project. It's a bit different because obviously it's ongoing with Ryan. Like his jobs are
just bigger jobs, Bill. Really,
yeah.
mate. Do you know what I mean?
Weeks at a time, whereas tree work is
a couple of days, isn't it?
Couple of days, yeah. Very different jobs, far more skilled, and you need to be trained, and people actually care more about it. But I mean, typically, I mean, you can do a lot with 2 people, but I would say in general, a team of 3 gets the job done. We have a couple of days a week at the moment where there'll be 4 people working.
That's quite a good number, though, isn't it?
Well, 4 people.
4, yeah.
Yeah, because you can have a lot of people want quotes itemised up, so you'll have areas of the garden that have been priced up separately or whatever. And if you can have 2 people cracking on with that and 2 people cracking on with another thing, that's really good.
Yeah.
And then at the end, there's a big tidy up with 4 people. That makes things a lot easier. But yeah, I would say in general, it's between 3 and 4 people.
And you have a blend of experience within that team.
Yeah. So obviously, for every climber, you need a groundie. You normally start off in a grounding position before you end up as a climber. But what's good is I've like 2 very experienced people, and then they're all quite experienced really. There's one guy who started with us at the beginning of the year. He was originally a work experience. And then he's obviously he doesn't even have a chainsaw license. He literally just drags stuff to the chipper, and he's just sort of like labour,
isn't he?
Yeah, but just handy labour because for someone who's an experienced climber, they're probably best not placed pulling stuff to the chipper and putting it through. They're better off being in the tree, or an experienced groundie who knows how to rig and stuff like that. But I would say in general, most people that work for me are quite experienced.
Yeah.
We were having this conversation earlier, but it's I would say the staff I have are very good. It may be more the question is around utilising them better. So how much productivity can we get out of what they can do?
Yeah.
And there's several ways we can do that. We've discussed about timesheets, how long projects are taking us. Is everyone working to their full extent every day, and is it then a case of resources? Do we need another vehicle or something like that to go off and do other things? Can we be starting another project while one's being finished off with the people we have? So it's not just down to staffing. It's the things that you need for staffing as well, because especially with tree work, I mean, we're so machinery dependent. It's do we have the resource of that? Do we have the money to buy those resources and stuff like that? I think we're going through the processes at the moment of figuring out whether we are utilising them the best we can. I would say probably at the moment, probably not. We probably could get more out of it, but it's difficult because, as we said as well, I'm not currently on the tools at the moment. So
that makes a big difference, doesn't it? But then it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Once you progress from being that the owner doer within the company to coming off the tools, then immediately you're adding to the overhead, and that's got to be recovered through the other people doing the work. So I think that's the first stage of transitioning into a sort of slightly larger business where you really have to start having proper management systems in place to be able to make sure that you're covering costs, you're making a decent profit.
Yeah, well,
it's early stages though, isn't it?
That's it. I was just about to say myself, like I found myself, because we are getting we've got some lovely projects, and we've got garden designers giving us a call and we're really wanting to work alongside them, and so it's really exciting stuff. And with that then comes, myself going to look at more projects, and the team that we've got young Ty, who's our digger man. He's come on leaps and bounds, and being able to, like you said, Bill, having that team of 4 there, and myself being able to do the be on the trowel, doing laying our block work, setting things up. I've got Ollie next to me on the trowel. It's just really starting to click. And really starting to click, and it means that we can get more. I can get more out of the staff because there's been that time of teaching. It's been that time of we've had the bumps and scrapes. But being able to get into the bigger jobs and using the team, their skill set is quite.
So if you've got someone else coming, or you've identified and you think I need someone else to come on board, and you think that. If there's someone relatively inexperienced, what's the sort of career progression within both landscaping and then within tree surgery? How would you take someone who eventually is a rookie, and where can they go within the industry and also within your companies?
So, I'd say there's no bounds to that. It's up to that person. It's for me, I always say to them, look, I've been doing this for so long, and I talk to myself a hell of a lot. That's why I have a dog next to me the whole time.
Well, you've got no friends, that's why.
That is the other reason. That is the other reason. I'm constantly talking. So when I'm doing something, I'm talking myself through it. Saying, right, put that there. For me, it's if there's someone next to me who's listening, they can take this information. I said, be a sponge. Take it in. We've had Squeaks. Good on him. He's now in Australia doing some lovely work. Spoke to him there recently. Mr. Will Brett, he's doing really well out there. And he was a PT before he turned up. He didn't have any experience on site. He didn't have any experience. And
so where did you start with him then? Because it's if someone comes in and they're totally green, what do you get them on? Where would you start them?
Well, first of all, you start with a wheelbarrow licence. So you give them a wheelbarrow and see which way it faces when they, when they leave it down on the ground. So, it's first of all, it's just shadow. It's right. Okay, stand close. Head down. Watch where you go and watch what we do. So someone can understand the flow of where we're going. Simple rules. Man with the low goes first. It means that if someone's coming down the alleyway and he's got something in his hands, we don't need you in the way. So once they click with that, it's time to give them a shovel and see what they're like digging a hole.
Yeah.
And how amazing it is for me, as someone I've always had a shovel in my hand, to see somebody who can't shovel. So you teach that slowly. You start building from there. You start at the ground. You start the ground up.
I'll come back onto that. There's something I wanted to ask you, but I was going to ask you, Bill, the same question. Then how do you start to train young people up if they've got no prior experience? Where would you start them, and how would you develop them?
I have a conversation with them and say, what is it you want to do? Do you want to be... A lot of people, want to do different things. Some people want to go into forestry. Some people want to go into... they want to be a climber. Some people eventually want to be a surveyor or something. And then obviously you just put them in the right place for where their interests are, because I feel like if they're doing something they enjoy, or they feel like they're working towards a goal, then they're going to work harder for you, which is really important. But normally, everyone starts by clearing up. Everyone starts by clearing up and putting stuff in the chipper. And if you're really good, you get to use a silky handsaw. Yeah, and then once you get that, you get your first chainsaw license, and then you start using on the chainsaw, getting used to that. But the only way to learn is by watching and asking questions.
Do they know what the career progression is?
Yeah, I'll talk to people about that. Yeah. I always do. But again, it depends what kind of company you're working for. At the moment, the company that I'm running is, you start off as a groundie. If you want to be a climber, you can work up to that. That takes years to be able to be a good climber, and you're learning all the time. I'm still learning all the time as well.
Yeah.
Are there formal qualifications that you have to go through as well?
Yeah, so there's so you start off with CS30 and 31, which is your ground saw, cross-cutting and felling.
And how long do they take to do?
So they're only like a week each.
Right.
And then, you can do courses like I did if you want to learn the theoretical side of tree work, or tree biology and stuff like that.
Yeah. So if someone, sorry, cutting across you all the time, but it's like quite interesting to find out. A trainee came to you and then they said they want to do some of that tree work and those courses you're talking about, do you sponsor them generally and pay for them to do their courses, or do you expect them to contribute as well?
Yeah, so I have the way I've done it recently is I'll pay for half of it, and if you work for me for a certain amount of time, I'll pay for the rest of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's usually sort of fairly standard way of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or the company will pay up front, and then they're tied in for a couple of years. If they leave before that time, then they will pay some of that back. That's what we would do, yeah. Which is
but there's a lot of ways you can go in tree work. Unless you're really lucky and you're really into your fitness, you can burn out quite early. It's really demanding, especially if you're a climber. Everyone, a lot of people I know's bodies are ruined. Our lead climber, Christian, he is just obsessed with health and fitness. So he's in very good shape. He's having Epsom salt baths and he's gymming 3 times a week, and he's extremely conscious of his diet. and he doesn't drink. He's not having late nights.
He's 95 as well, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. No, he's in his early 40s.
Yeah.
Which is
I've seen him. Yeah, he looks very fit.
which is rare for a climber. I mean, a lot of climbers are clapped out by the time they're in mid.
So where do they go? So if that's
That's you, isn't it?
Sorry,
That's what happened to you, isn't it?
well, I'm in my late 20s.
So if that's the sort of, if there are potential sort of like, the stresses and strains on your body, where would a climber or someone develop after that if they want to sort of get out of that type of work?
As I said, some people want to be a lead climber forever because it's, what they go into tree work for. Some people want to be a team leader. They want to be the person taking meeting the client, running the job, and organising the team. So they know what the job is. They're organising the machinery that goes with them, who's going where, that sort of thing. Liaising with clients, and also that might include quoting, going out on site and pricing the jobs up.
So effectively, they could start to go into like more management roles.
It's a management role, yeah. It's a team leader management role.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that might be less physically demanding.
Yeah.
Obviously, they'll get stuck in where they need to, but I wouldn't expect a team leader to be a climber necessarily, because I'd say mainly the climbers organising themselves. They're saying, I'm doing this cut next, I think this is what's going to happen, and then the rest I don't want to fucking know about. That's getting organised in front of them. That's what you really want from your ground staff, is you want to be cracking on with the climbing, and the rest of it's sorted out for you. You don't want to know what's going on in the chipper. So although people will talk about it over the comms and stuff, that's another thing you can do. Or there's, as I said, tree surveying. That's something that's interesting you can do. That does take several years to do, a degree, where you can be an arboricultural surveyor, which is where you're surveying groups of trees or individual trees for construction companies, or just your domestic homeowner, to know the condition of the trees and like a management report afterwards.
Because you can also do expert witness work, can't you, within trees? So giving expert reports on conditions for insurance companies.
Yeah, for insurance companies, or for people buying houses, for what's the word I'm looking for? For solicitors and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because that's going to take a certain level of education as well to actually get to that.
Like we do. I haven't got a degree in surveying, so I can't do it. But we do offer a service, or I've done it before, where obviously you outline the fact that this isn't done by a chartered arborist, but I've done courses at college. We did ones of visual tree inspections.
Yeah.
So I know what to look for, and also just most arborists who work in the industry will know to a certain extent about tree condition and health. They might not know how to use a resistor graph. They might not know what the decay in the trees, what the recommended thing to do is. I mean, again, we're working along surveys quite a lot, so you might know, through experience. You go, oh, we saw this in an ash tree last week. We felled it because it had dieback the same as this one. So that's you can go off experience.
Yeah.
But that's another thing you can do, especially if your body's your body's a bit ruined,
struggling a bit. So how about Ryan, in terms of landscaping and the industry that you're in, are there sort of formal courses and things that you would want people to do, or do you prefer just to really be training people on the tools so that they do it your way?
Okay, I mean, I guess in the last, because we have had ads out and we've had guys come and do trial days.
Trialling days.
Yeah.
Trialling days at your place.
Trialling days at my place, yeah. You would not last.
Mate, I would be top dog.
You would not
right
last.
now, I would be. I'll be running this place.
The king.
We're here to take over.
No chance. But we've had some people turn up to do a trial day. With 5 years experience. They got 5 years experience on the tools, and yet they haven't got the confidence and the skill set that someone who's been with me for a year and a half and is maybe 4 or 5 years younger than them. It's so, I mean, it's not just about my way. It's, I guess I don't know any other way, as in we start from the ground up, so my team are able to, the younger people know their layers. If you stop any of our team members, and you say, what are you doing and why? They'll say, I'm digging this trench here because we've got to dig this for X, Y, and Z, and they'll tell you exactly why and what for. So when they get to that laying stage, or they do learn to use the trowel, they understand, okay, well, if I lay my slab here, if I lay one slab here, I'm going to end up with really small bad cuts on that side. And that experience of being able to fill up underneath and get it to that laying stage, aids them with that. It's amazing how, yes, some people can go, I can lay a patio. It's all well and good, but if you can't do the underneath of it, it's...
Yeah, I mean, that's the important thing with anything, isn't it? You've got to get the substructure right, otherwise nothing is going to work.
That's what's interesting. We've got Ollie, who's been on the podcast. He's 22, and there was a gentleman who was, like I said, 28, and you've got a 22-year-old explaining to a 28-year-old, this is why we're doing this, and it's.
Yeah, because I think ultimately it's never really a case of age. It's like if you're old enough, you can be good enough. It's how good you are and your technical competence. And some people can pick it up better than others. Yeah. I couldn't do landscaping.
No, you have a shovel, no thanks. But no, I get the fact I'm looking at the age difference as one thing, but it's the 5 years experience. It's Ollie's been with us for now on and off 3 years. He's been off travelling.
But how much of that you say, like with the years' experience, is one thing working with like a smaller company and also a specialist company. You're actually very focused on the work, and you're also working next to someone who's as such as yourself, who's an expert who can actually tell people what to do, rather than if you're just part of a bigger company and you just get like general jobs to be doing when no one is really monitoring the quality of what you're doing. I suppose that's an advantage of working with.
And I
yourself.
will pat myself on the back there, because I've often, it's been very nice. We went for a beer after work one day, and the guys were talking, and I think a friend of theirs rocked up, and they were talking about where they've worked and what it's like, and the guy said, look, we're lucky because we are at this stage where the company is, the size it is, where we are working alongside with the boss, means that we do get to take all this knowledge. It is going to get to a point where I'm not going to be on site as much, and the guys were calling themselves the last ones, the last ones, because we're starting to turn that corner, and I kind of reflected on that and thought, well, it's quite interesting, because whoever takes my position takes that responsibility on as well, because that for me is where we were talking earlier about, it's a privilege. And it's
have you ever had someone who you've worked with who's better than you?
In what respect?
Landscaping.
Definitely in some aspects, yeah. Like some people do cuts differently. If they were just setting up a cut, or if they, one of the team members, I use a rubber mat, and one of the team members says, I use. They came on board and they said, I use sand as a base underneath thing, and so I guess there's different aspects, but no, I'm
no, but have you? Man. I know that's what I'm asking.
The king of fucking sandstone.
Have you worked with someone and you've been like, fucking hell, this guy's?
Yeah, I'll be.
It's like, because if I I've had quite a bit of time climbing with Christian, and I watch him and I'm like,
you did so. No, you've said this a few times.
Honestly, I watch him, and it's like, and it's not just me, it's everyone's like, bloody hell.
Yeah,
and that is experience.
Yeah, that's it.
He's 10 years my senior.
Yeah,
and more than that actually. He's 12 years, and he's been in tree work for a long time, and I learn a lot from him.
The thing about myself is I would never. JB said, your way, and I was like, it's not my way. It's, hey, if you come up with something better, I will stand and look at my way and go, we should do this, and we're going to change that, because that's a better way. I'm very open to better ways. I'm very open to listening to everybody and thinking, okay, which is the most efficient, cost-effective, scenario that's safe, all of these.
But I suppose one thing, isn't it, when you're the guy who's in charge and effectively you're the director and the other people are coming in as sort of younger than you, then you're the one with the experience that everybody sort of looks up to. There's probably going to be less of those moments when you go, we'll change the way we do it, just because the guys who are working for you haven't got the knowledge or the technical experience that you have.
We have had two or three guys come in and do some work with us. You know, one being 55 years old, the other one being 40 odd, and I think another chap who's probably 32 and I was probably about 28 or something. So there have been older people coming in. You know, relatively we do have younger staff. Yes, we do across the board, but. You know, if there's...
it's only one of those double-edged swords, isn't it? Because in one way, like, at least when you've got younger people coming, at least you can train them in to work your way and to do it the way you like to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't get the benefit of learning off other people.
Yeah.
Does it matter, though? But if it's done on time and it's as to the standard you want, it doesn't really matter, does it?
No, that's right. As long as.
But you may not get so much innovation. If someone else has got different ideas or they've got some other experience or ways of doing it.
That's what I'm saying.
But as long
if it was done, if it's innovative, but if it's getting done to your standard, then
the thing for me, what kind of gets me sometimes, when you see somebody do something and you're like, oh, that's quite a neat way of doing that. How comes you do that? And they go, don't know. I was like, sorry? And they're like, oh, I've just done that for years. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I do it like this. Oh, okay. No, I'm actually asking you. You know, I'm really interested in why you're doing it. Oh, I don't know. I just was taught that once and never. You know, like. Yeah. So you can't. Are you standing by this? Well, I don't know. Like, so I won't change because I will stand by everything we do. You know, I will stand by it because it's been tried and tested, and you know, any method we're doing. It's all why for me. It's why are you doing it like that? Why are you using that tool in your hand like that? It's like, you know.
Yeah, with most things, isn't it? Someone should have a reason or a justification as to why they do something.
Yeah,
otherwise,
if that's where they were taught.
No, totally.
It is a justification. Yeah.
Well, not necessarily, because you still could be taught something that's a complete load of rubbish, and if they don't know
that's his justification.
No, it's not.
But that's his justification.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It is a justification.
That's his justification.
But it's a wrong justification.
Semantics.
It's a shit
justification.
Yeah, it's just about I've taught. But I haven't seen anything better. If someone said that to you,
but to me, that's not really a justification, isn't it? A justification would be explaining why you're doing it in a certain way, what it is. You know, is it done to a certain British standard specification?
That's correct.
I mean, you are justifying yourself as well as to why you're doing it.
But I would add on with that, I do it like this to that degree with that.
I do it. What if they said I do it like this because I was taught this and I haven't seen anything better?
There's a thing because they've thought about it. You know, that's like I've tried. Yeah, because I'm consciously thinking there is nothing better. When someone goes, I don't know why I've done it like this. This is the way I'll be taught. That's it. I don't think anything out. I don't change. It's like, well, you know, we change.
So do we think that there's like do you think there's like opportunities to improve training generally within the industry? I mean, I get the impression there seems to be more structure in the tree surgery world in terms of formal qualifications than there is in landscaping.
Well, you can do, there are qualifications you can do in landscaping, you know, and you can get your digger tickets and, you know, bits and pieces. So there are, you know, if someone wants to go down that road of being a digger driver, you know, there's somewhere to go. You know, you can do that. There's, you know, courses around.
Yeah, but in terms of things like laying a patio, there's not like don't get a qualification in terms of laying a patio or hard landscaping or something like that. And it's like, doesn't it seem like there should be a better way of training, a more structured way of training people? Can't you set up the Royal Tunbridge Wells training school?
You're not wrong, because that's something I've definitely thought about, because I really, really enjoy teaching. I get so much out of it, and watching the young team members come through, and you know that you look at them and they're doing the cut and they've done their cut, they've fitted it, and sometimes that fits perfectly, and they look round, you think, yes, it does, because you've done all the things well done.
But even that bit before that, doing the ground stuff, doing the excavation, putting the layers in as well, it's from what you've said before, it seems like, you know, even that is something that needs to be taught to people and done in a way that's actually done to the quality standards that you require, and that would need education and would need training.
It'd be nice.
And if someone came to you and said, look, I've done this approved course which takes them through blah blah blah, at least you know you've got, doesn't necessarily prove that they'll be able to do it, but it gives them some.
There are some courses there, you know, there are landscaping courses you can do, but I guess you know, a short week course, you know, a short week course that is
Yeah, it's going to be satisfactory for what.
Yeah,
I've done
exactly. Like
landscaping course.
yeah, you can do.
I don't think it really taught me anything.
Well, that's so for me. What I would like to do is I'd love to speak to colleges around here, and because I'm a carpenter by trade, and when I did my carpentry, I was an apprentice. I was fully qualified at 19, and I sat there and was like, you know, we had the teacher change halfway through the year. You know, it was the course was a bit, you know, up and down, and I remember it was like we were just kind of getting through it. It was like we were just being put through it. And I was like, well, I'm actually here to learn. This is what I want to do. I want to learn this. I might have been a little shit at the time, but, you know, when I was young. But
Still are.
It's just the biggest shit now. But it was interesting. I felt a bit cheated. I said, well, that's not, you know, I don't, you know, they say, oh, well, you learn to be a carpenter on the job. This is just gives you, I'm like, but this is my qualification.
Yeah.
This is what I showed.
But to some extent, I still, there's a lot there as well, because it's like, say, when I went off and did became a chartered quantity surveyor, it was like, the stuff they taught you, it was great, and it was a good background education, and you understood concepts, and you learned about the law, you learned about construction, but it was all fairly basic stuff, and you learnt a lot while you're actually doing the job, because I did like a part-time degree, and it was great sort of complementing. So I think, but I always think you need that. You need both aspects. You need the sort of like the basic training, the theoretical training that goes behind some of these works that you have to do, and then that needs to be, you know, supported through practical work on site, because that's where you really learn to do it. It's a bit like doing your driving test, isn't it? You learn to drive, but you only really learn to drive after you pass your test and you're out on your own, and you've got to make decisions about how you.
Well, that's interesting. I feel that with driving, you get taught how to pass your test, not how to drive.
Yeah.
So that for me, it felt like the carpentry. You know, it was do this, do that. You know,
but you still had an understanding. You had a foundation of how carpentry works. You knew what the general principles were.
Yeah.
You'd know about loadings. You know about how fixings, how things work.
Yeah, I get that.
And then how to use, you know, saws, cutting and stuff. But actually applying that is something you've got to do through practice on site.
It's important, and it's one thing you can do, but it's not a necessity to get a qualification.
No.
Like I think if, like, especially in tree work, if that's all you're interested in doing, is if you're interested in the actual tree work, the workings of how what we do, then you don't need to go to college and learn arboriculture. If you want to learn the biodynamics of trees and how trees actually work, which is what I'm very interested in, then go to college and then see it practically when you're doing the work.
Yeah.
But if you just like scrabbling around trees and taking parts off, and you will learn so much just by doing that anyway.
Well, what I'd like to do with you know, a young member of staff that comes in, you know, I guess I couldn't at this point. I couldn't offer him anything, you know, maybe a bit of lemonade, a bit of paper saying you passed, you know. But what would be great is having a portfolio where it's like, right, this is where we start. You know, we start by, you know, digging your first trench. And once you dig a trench, it gets assessed. And that trench gets assessed by myself or a member of the team, and it's signed off. And it's like, hey man, you've dug a trench, you've done it to the right depth. It's absolutely spot on. Well done, you. Let's see what's on next. Fold it over, and next there's putting the concrete.
Yeah, that's it. You'd set out a syllabus as to the sort of things that you want. So, you know, so what are the main components of landscaping? So if it's like patio work, if it's like sleepers, if it's doing things like that, and then you can go through, explain to them how the construction process works, and then get them to do a simple thing so they've got an understanding. Because I'm thinking, I couldn't lay a patio. I wouldn't really know. I know talking to yourself, but to actually do it, setting out the levels, I'd like someone to show me.
Yeah.
And even if that was on a simple way, that would be a really useful thing to have as a basic course. And then if someone got a certificate at the end of it and said, look, I've done basic you know, patio construction, how useful would that be?
Well, that's something. Yeah, it's something I'm seriously considering, because it's you know, like I said, it's something I really enjoy, but it is desperately needed. I was thinking about, you know, with the team we have and what they know, you know, like I was saying before, they can all set up their levels. They know where where the water's going, because that's where we start with. Where does the water go? It's landscaping. You know, we're outside. Where does the water go? It wants to be taken on a nice fall away into a gully, into a train, French train, and taken off site.
Yeah.
So these guys learning all of this, I was looking at it thinking, I would happily do a course where we had other, you know, maybe we were saying bigger companies that haven't got time to teach.
Yeah.
You know, where they haven't got time, where it's like, right, okay, for a week they do shadowing. They follow for a week and they turn up, and, you know, and we'll start at the basics and start like, you know, start the basics. And it's, I think
there's a lot of opportunities there, isn't it, with all those things. It would be, you know,
really
it'd be, and certainly to help progress the industry as well in certain areas.
For me, that's
really
the main
good,
thing.
Trees.
That's the main thing. Just having, you know, when we're looking at a project and someone said, "Oh, I've got 3 quotes to get," so fine, no problem. And they get a quote, and you know, they get the work done by somebody else. All I care about is that person is good enough. Yeah. Like, I don't care who you go get your landscaping from. We're happy to do the project. I'd love to do it. It's what we do for a living. But there are a lot of landscapers out there. But what kills me the most is when there's some really bad landscapers that just do not follow the rules. We've just pulled up some artificial grass, that I hate anyway, but underneath it was soft sand and it was laid on the mud, and these are checker trade. And you're sitting there going, it just drives me insane, and it's not fair on the clients.
What are you supposed to do it on?
It's supposed to be on sharp sand or sharp sand at least, or grano dust, but on a geotextile membrane, MOT sub base, whacked in increments of 75 millimeters, 6 times each way. And if you can lift the whacker plate up on your own, you don't have a big enough whacker plate. And then you put grano dust over that, and then you artificial grass, and then you sweep sand in.
Well, there you go. There's specification nerd for you. So he's the guy to ask. But anyway, were there any final points from you, William, as we're drawing this episode to a conclusion?
Before I carry on,
get out there. Head down, arse up, get the money in.
Cash flow.
And that's another thing.
We'll do that
And
next
then it all
time.
comes into money management and the important stuff.
Next time on the Outside Crowd podcast, we've talked about money management. And I won't be here.
So on that. So yeah, no, thank you very much, guys. I think that's quite a useful chat. Some interesting points raised there. So yeah. William, we'll see you next time.
Cheers, boys and girls.
Ryan.
Enjoy. A big shout out to everyone out there listening to us. Yeah.
So see you later. See you next time, team.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And also, just a quick note: we haven't had Jake on for a while. He's just been extremely busy, and he's got a young daughter, so he hasn't been able to get here to help out. So hopefully he'll be back at some point, but we shall see. So in the meantime, what we got on the next Outside Crowd podcast?
Finance, money, big amounts of it. How to spend it. Talk to
Ask William.
I spent
Great
50
stuff.
grand.
Thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you next time on another Outside Crowd podcast.
Bye.